When you look around in the cities of Belarus, you will quickly find out that 2025 is a very special year to the Belarusians. This year marks the 80th anniversary of the Soviet Union's victory over the Nazis in World War II, or as they call it, the Great Patriotic War. For this video, we decided to take a look at two places which are very significant for the Belarusian part of the World War history. The first one is a very heroic one and is located close to Brest, at the border between Belarus and Poland. And we're now walking towards the place, which is very significant for the Belarusian history and also was very much inspirational to literature and movies about the Soviet Union. So I welcome you to the Brest Fortress. Let's go. Maybe I'll actually do that without the hood so that I don't look that stupid and have those weird crackling in my ears all the time from the rain. We already stand in front of a massive entrance in the shape of a block with a star in it. A little bit of a construction site right now, and it will stay like that until August 25, but nevertheless already a very monumental entrance to something so important. So what this star monument here usually did was to play a message, and that was the message that the Nazis are attacking. Sometimes it also played some old Soviet music, and I think I had a video of that, so if I find that, you'll see it here right now. I don't know, I also just kind of feel like this is exactly the correct weather that you need for those kind of things. The area of this fort is actually quite big, so you can't really see it, but actually all of this is on an island. So you have two rivers going around making this island, and you also have the rest of the fortress basically like a star shape. Well, of course, you can't have a memorial like that without a few tanks. So here we have 4 or 5 tanks standing around. I don't really know that much about tanks, so I can't really tell you that much about it. Anyway, we have a little bit of water around. This might be one of the rivers. And over there, we can cross the bridge and get onto this main island. As you can see, this center of ceremonies is already looking quite impressive. The initial fortification of this place was already built in like the 13th century. However, it was only in 1833 when the Russian Empire built the actual fortress on here. The place also has a whole lot of barracks, I think with like 500 rooms or something, so that they can fit an exceptional amount of soldiers in here. As I was already saying, this place is quite close to the Polish border, and that is also why it was so strategically significant. And the importance at some point became even more significant because the peace treaty between the Central Powers and Russia was also signed right here in this fortress. The Brest-Litovsk Treaty. And what you can definitely already see here every now and then are damages in the walls. Like here you see a whole lot of broken elements on the wall, a whole lot of damage that this wall has been taken. This is the original wall, by the way. Like, they did not rebuild anything here or restore or reinvent. Instead, this place serves as a memorial and as a showcase. At some point, Brest also became a Polish city, actually. Before, in 1939, it was reclaimed by the Soviets. But all of those things don't really matter. This is like none of that so far is what this place is really about. Because the main event, so to say, was when Nazi Germany started to invade the USSR. It was on the 22nd of June 1941 with Hitler's Operation Barbarossa, where he tried, as I already said, to capture or like to invade the Soviet Union. We are now walking towards a white arch that you can already see there. once again, here you can see a whole lot of damages. Like, those are not just some random things that happen out of old age or something. These are actually real bullet holes back from those times. Real bullet holes back from 1941. Let's quickly check out the other side. There you can see another bridge, by the way. And here on the other side, there's even more damage, as you can see. They intentionally kept it this way. And all of those bullet holes are real. We also have a very cool church here. Very much noticeable with the golden roofs and things. Now at some point, just like at the Star Monument, well, we didn't hear it, but you know, the message came through that the Germans are attacking. And it took them by surprise, the Soviets. It really took them by surprise, and they were massively outnumbered. However, they still managed. For a whole month, they were still defending the Brest Fortress, and therefore also, of course, their people. Now, of course, those numbers also depend if you're listening to this version or to the Western version, because the Westerners say that it was only 1 week that they were able to defend this place. Anyway, no matter if it was a week or a month, it was seen as a sign how resilient the Soviets are. It inspired a lot of USSR literature and movies. Also, this fortress, at some point in 1960 something, became the Brest Hero Fortress for the heroes that defended it. Okay, so you may have noticed that I only walk around where all of those red buildings and all of those things are, but never show you the actual monuments and statues and whatever. You know, we just needed this context, and now we're actually going to take a look at those things. Basically, all of those monuments show the same thing, which is of course also the resilience and the strength of the Soviets. And pretty much after you cross that bridge, you're gonna stumble upon this one right here of a wounded soldier who is longing for something. So what you see here, where all of those flowers lay, is the helmet of the soldier, where he's trying to get some water out of the river. You know, they sometimes had to go days without eating or without drinking, just defending this fortress. Right, now I guess it's time to, you know, address the elephant in the room. What is this huge statue in the center? One thing is clear. There were definitely more people around here when it was sunny. Well, what you can see here is obviously a head that is carved into this massive boulder, and the hammer and the sickle. There's not really any more context given, but that is that. And I feel like it's already impressive just as it is. 33.5 meters high. It's huge. Right next to this guy, we also have those memorials right here for all of the hero cities, as they call them. We have Moscow, Moskva. We have Leningrad. We have Volgograd, Kiev, Minsk, also one of them. Actually, when you enter Minsk from the, let's call it right side, then you also see this big signage of Hero City Minsk. They all have their place right here at this very important site of the Second World War for the Soviets. Well, and then we of course have this thing right here, the bayonet monument. Can't really tell you what the purpose of that one is, I just can tell you that it's 100 meters high. And below this big guy, we have 3 rows full of names of fallen soldiers, probably. So you have a whole lot of names here, but also sometimes some unknown ones. There you go, right here at the end we have 3 unknown people. Everywhere you got people paying respects to all of the fallen soldiers with flowers. It's even fake flowers. You might say, why the hell would they put fake flowers? But you know, the real flowers, they wilt, and those fake flowers last forever. I don't know if that's the reason. Right here in those old walls, we have a little bit of an exhibition where we see some pictures. Old Germany, I guess. There you go, Schwerin. And here we have Berlin, Frankfurt, Poznan, okay, Polish, and something else, yeah. That's how you did it back then. You did not have your fancy Sonys and gimbals and stuff. So if you're interested in the Second World War, you have a whole lot of pictures on it from the Soviet side. All of that while you still walk through some of these original walls that once belonged to one part of this fortress. And of course, no Soviet monument would be complete without the eternal fire. It is right here in front of the hero cities and of course this massive statue. Definitely understandable why it's one of the most popular places around here. I don't know if there's more that I can show you around here, but even if, you know, it's quite rainy, so maybe we just go somewhere else instead. After the last Soviet soldiers fell, their families met the same fate, as the place was taken over by the Nazis. The tragedies of the war sadly didn't stop there, as we got to learn at our next destination. This one is about an hour away from Minsk in the northeast direction. Here we are today in a village, or what remains of a village, that is called Khatyn. You have a very dramatic long entrance, like there's huge parking and, you know, some exhibitions and stuff in this direction. We'll get to the exhibitions later, but for now let's just take a look at what remains of Khatyn. And here we are, and we have all of those foundations around here. It is 26 foundations in total, and as you can every now and then hear again in this video, they all have a bell that rings in, I don't know what kind of intervals. 157 inhabitants were once living here in this little village in Khatyn. All of those columns, chimneys, whatever you might call them, have a little stone or a board on there which tells you the names of the people who were living here once. And what you can see here, for example, is that you have 4 people where the age is listed: 15 years, 12 years, 10 years, and 5 years. Children, directly on the opposite side. Right here we have another foundation, and here we also have 15 years, 13 years, 11 years. In fact, almost half of those people living in this village were children. I gotta say, despite everything that happened here, it is a very beautiful place. Like, as you can see, everything is very, very well taken care of. So while I'm walking around here, let me give you a little bit more historical context, just that you know the overall story of this place. All of this happened on 22nd of March 1943. And the one thing that started all of this, or that led to this event, is actually a broken phone line. That itself doesn't really sound all too bad, but you know, it was war times. So phone lines were very important for the communication. Well, they still are, but you get what I'm saying. This phone line, about 6 kilometers away from here, was destroyed, and a repair squad, together with a little unit from a battalion, Battalion 118 from the Germans, or the Nazis, was sent out to repair this phone line, to restore communications. However, When they got there, they got attacked by Soviet partisans. And yes, the partisans killed a few people from this battalion and also one of their commanders. And after that, they fled back, they fled the scene over here to Khatyn. So the battalion that was then sent here was a different one. It was a special battalion. They already had a whole lot of casualties here because this battalion was attacking with heavy guns and mortars and all of that kind of stuff. So that was already causing a lot of deaths. And what they then did was basically forcing all of the remaining people in a few of those remaining sheds and then filled them with hay and lit them on fire so that all of the remaining people in there were suffocating or of course burning. And even if they made it out, they would just get shot by the Nazi soldiers all around. And this is what happened here in Khatyn.
Just thinking about how it happened, like this beautiful meadow with beautiful clean grass, to think that once like people were in panic, go into this shed, not knowing what happened, grabbing their children, calming the children, and it's horrible to think about. And yes, one boy survived under the body of his mother, which is the saddest thing ever, and also the most like natural thing, I have to say. I don't know if it's rumors or true that I read that one of the moms in the morning before Germans came to the village, she sent her son or daughter to another village to ride on a horse. She got him a horse and said just right away. I don't know if it was on purpose, maybe he had some business in that village, or maybe she heard that someone will arrive in the village. But yes, that citizen of Khatyn survived.
This place probably also has a very interesting feeling to it at night, or at least when it's dark, because you have all of those lamps here that will illuminate the paths. And here where those foundations are, you can also always see a light right here that will shine on those columns right here. Only 2 adults, the other 7 are children. 15, 13, 11, 9, 5, 4, and 2. Half of the village's population, children. They didn't do anything wrong. They were just born here, living normal life. There is literally no reason to kill a child. And even less reason to kill 75. I don't think you need to be a parent for this. I think that's just kind of common sense. But apparently not. Apparently not. As you can see, we now also covered this entire side here. And now we're going to take a look at this thing right there, this church. And contrary to all of the other things around, this is entirely made out of wood and no concrete structure is at least visible. It has a very modern lock, so I don't think that we can get in there. Well, they definitely have some appointment in here on 22nd of March. That is, you know, very much mandatory given its history, but it doesn't really say anything else. Well, yeah, now I feel like we've seen everything on both sides that this path extends to, and now it is time to check out the cemetery in the middle. Because you might think that the cemetery in the middle is, you know, at least symbolic for all of the people who died here, but it's something different. It is something different, and we're going to find out what that is. So let's see. When you see all of those foundations there, and you know what a classic Belarusian village house looks like, just think about it. Just imagine how this place might have looked, how beautiful it must have been. When you walk towards the cemetery, you will directly see the number 186. Over 9,000 Belarusian villages were destroyed during the war, but 186 of them, like Khatyn, were never rebuilt. So it was not only a tragedy that happened here, even though here in Khatyn there's this beautiful memorial site to show you and teach you what it's like, but it was so many other little villages around here as well, and therefore all of those villages and the region where they are have their own little grave right here. Symbolic grave. And as you can see here, this is from the ground where those villages stood. There you go. There's two of them where this case is missing. So here you can even better see the piece of ground that is in here. So you might say that there is actually a piece of every village that is buried here. Well, exhibited, kinda, you know, it's over the ground, so you rather say exhibited, but doesn't matter, same thing.
This is the entrance to a memorial dedicated to concentration camps in Belarus. For example, here, Brest region, in 1942, they killed everyone in a children's home, like children who don't have parents, children's shelter. And here is Polotsk. 150,000 people were killed, and that's why, to honor our hometown and people who lived around it. Yes, Oliver, that's right. We're not taking those toys. We will put this one right here.
And of course, a Belarusian monument would not be a Belarusian monument without the eternal flame, which we also have right here, reminding us that over 2 million Belarusian people were killed when those villages were destroyed and during the war in general. Belarus is not a big country, so in that case, it was a quarter of the entire Belarusian population. As we exited the memorial site, we once again passed the statue of Josef Kamiński, the only adult survivor of Khatyn, carrying his dead son. Right in front of the parking, there's also a museum where you can learn some more and experience being in the burning house. Well, yeah, I know that this has been, you know, a little bit of a darker vlog, but nevertheless, I would say it is a very interesting location to visit, especially if you're interested in World War II or the Belarusian history in general. So if you liked this video, despite the, you know, a little bit darker topic, you know, you can do all of the YouTube stuff that you usually do, and that leaves me with nothing else to say except thank you so much for watching, and let's get out of here.